Minutes past 7. We're talking voice recognition this morning. It's something that's increasing its presence in our lives, whether it be on your mobile phone or perhaps calling up a taxi, maybe even your banking as well. Voice recognition, is it getting any better? Certainly over the past couple of decades, it's been rather patchy. It sort of fades in and out of fashion as people figure out, well, it doesn't work quite as well as what they promised. And also, is it safe as well? Well, there's an event happening in Wellington that Dr. Mike Banbrook, who's is from Salmat, and he's going to be talking at an event about voice biometrics. And he joins us on the line this morning. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, I mean, what exactly? How would you describe voice biometrics?
So voice biometrics really is simply using your voice to prove your identity. That might be over the phone or it might be over the internet.
Okay, that's very simply put. So it's not exactly voice recognition.
So it combines the technology. So there are two steps really. First of all, we have to recognise what you say.
Yep.
And that's the voice recognition side of it. So that might be recognising you saying your social welfare number, for example, or something like that, or your date of birth. We recognise what you say, and then we also recognise how you say it.
So
and that's the biometric.
And it's intrinsically tied in with security then?
That's right. So it's all about how do you remove those dreaded questions. You imagine you call your bank and you have to actually go through and ask, or the last check you actually wrote, or what's your current balance, all those sorts of questions. You can replace all of those by simply saying your bank account number, and we check and see, is it your voice?
Mm. Now, it would be fair to say that voice recognition in the past hasn't been so good, has it?
Over the last 10 years or so, it's been an emerging technology. I think in the last certainly 5 years, there have been huge leaps forward. If you look at some of the deployments in the last couple of years around New Zealand, you'll see it now deployed in both Inland Revenue and Work and Income. Both take all of their calls through voice recognition systems now.
One of the problems that Kiwis often find is that they sometimes have to put on an American accent to be understood by these things.
Indeed. If you go back, sort of 5 years or so ago, it tended to be countries from out of country that were deploying the speech solutions.
Yeah.
These days, one of the things that my company here, Salmat, do is actually deploy it locally using local talent and local voice models.
Right.
So we're able to very much tune it to the Kiwi accent. Obviously, you can tell I've got an English one, and it also works for me as well. So
you basically need to teach the system, don't you?
Absolutely. So some of our systems now, we teach the system by getting 80,000 to 100,000 examples of what people say.
Right. I would imagine, though, over a phone, listening to you over the phone now, it's not the same sort of voice quality as if you were here in the studio with me. So how do systems deal with that?
Absolutely. I guess it's one of the biggest challenges we have, that the quality of the phone network can be somewhat patchy.
Yeah.
So that all comes down to the design of the systems, and it's all about priming the system to know what it's expecting you to say.
Mm.
And by doing that, if you think when we have a conversation over the phone, you've got some idea what I'm going to say. If I was completely out of context, you probably wouldn't necessarily catch it. We do the same with the speech system, that we craft them so that they are able to elicit the right response from you, or the response we're expecting.
Right. Because an example would say, like with a taxi company, like here in Auckland, if it recognises your address and you're ready to be picked up, you can just say into the phone, "Ready now," right?
That's right.
But if you say something like "Chairman Mao," it might also accept that as a response.
If it's extremely close to what we were expecting, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not quite sure why you'd say Chairman now.
Well, yeah, just to have fun with it, I suppose.
He gets a lot of taxis, apparently.
Maybe he does. What if you've got a cold and your voice is slightly altered?
Yeah, there's a very simple rule of thumb that I use. I mean, it's not accurate, but it's a good example. Is imagine you call your mum and you just simply say, "Hi, it's me." If she would instantly recognise that it's you, then most of our systems will work as well.
Mm.
If she'd go, "Me who?" then similarly, our system is designed not to accept you. Because if you think about the security you're trying to do, your voice does have to be relatively similar to what we were expecting it to be.
Yeah, okay. And of course, we're talking the sort of the difference here between recognition and I suppose security as well, where the system not only has to expect a certain response, but also expect only your voice, particularly, let's say, with internet banking.
Yep.
I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's absolutely the way it works. So with internet banking, for example, you might have the system you today might be able to transfer a couple of $100 or up to $1,000 between accounts on the internet bank, but you're not able to transfer $20,000 because of security level.
Okay.
What voice biometrics allows you to do is to get to that point in the internet bank, and then suddenly your mobile phone rings.
Right,
and
of course.
The system calls you back,
Yeah.
asks you a simple question, you answer it, and we look at your voice and then authorise the transaction.
See, I don't do any phone banking now that, because you can do it over the net. So can you use voice recognition with phone banking, voice biometrics with phone banking in New Zealand?
There aren't any banks live with it in New Zealand right now. There will be hopefully fairly soon. If you go to Australia and you bank with the NAB, you'd be able to do exactly that.
Okay. Interesting. Are there any other security implications? Is it more or less safe than, say, putting in a PIN number?
So it's quite an interesting topic because you're able to actually configure it to be the level of security that you want to do. With any security solution, you're compromising your convenience versus your security. So typically we deploy this so that it's around about the same level of security at a raw level as a PIN, that sort of level. But the difference is that you can't forget your voice and you can't give it to your wife. So you're able to actually ensure that it really is the person that's on the line. Right.
Okay, but what about personal security? I mean, is my voice stored by, say, the bank or the taxi company or whatever it be? And if it is stored, what are they doing with that data?
Yeah. So your privacy issues and personal data. So part of the rules in New Zealand are that we have to treat it the same as we treat any of your rest of your personal data. So when we store, say, your name and your date of birth and your address, we have privacy constraints that all organisations have to work under. And it's the same for the biometrics. So deep in the technical layers, we have all sorts of encryptions and security mechanisms on the databases to ensure that they can't be stolen. And even if they can, they're encrypted in a way that means that they can't be reverse engineered back into your voice.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like it's really coming along, the technology. And what are your thoughts? We're going to see and hear more of this kind of technology around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very definitely. I think this conference today will have many organisations in New Zealand that are deploying one that has deployed already. So the Ministry of Social Development have already deployed, and we have other companies today talking about their deployments going live in the very, very near future.
Like, could you see it being used in cars and to get into houses or businesses?
As part of the overall solution, yes. I think there are many solutions that are very good for getting into cars. You have to actually kind of think about voice biometrics as being ideal when you're not present. So over the phone, over a remote channel, that side of things. Whereas when you're face-to-face, actually use a combination of security measures. So your face, your fingerprint, all those sorts of things when you're presenting yourself are good to layer in and use all of those features rather than just one.
Excellent. Well, very, very fascinating. Thank you very much, Mike Banbrook, for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Time now here on Kiwi is 26 minutes past 7. Got a track here from